In this hand, you're playing a $44 tournament versus weak American competition. You raise on the button with king nine off, and the big blind calls you. The board comes 2 of clubs, 4 of clubs, 3 of hearts. Big blind checks to you. It is on you. Check or bet. That is time. We bet 2 big blinds. He calls. The turn is the jack of clubs. He checks to you. Check or bet. That is time. Pause if you need more time. If you did want to bet here, how much did you want to bet? Now, if you're a regular viewer of my videos or if you've read any of my books, you probably think every bluff bet I do is an overbet. But no, there's certain situations where you don't need to do that. There's certain questions. If you ask yourself certain questions at the poker table, it will give you a poker career. I can tell you that for sure. I've been doing this for decades, and I can tell you I was a very weak poker player for a lot of that time. But I was smart enough to know how much I didn't know at certain times. And I would just take it back to fundamentals so often. I would put myself in games with such bad players. And listen, a mediocre player that only plays against bad players is going to make much more money than a good player who only plays against great players. So I was mediocre, but I played against bad players. And I asked myself some questions. Some questions that you can ask yourself. Our question you can ask yourself is my bet for value or is it a bluff? And if it's either of those, list out what you want to have happen. And you'll find yourself on autopilot, oftentimes doing bets that don't make sense just because you're caught up in the rush of the game. So let's look at this one, for example. So you raise on the button with the king nine, that's fine. You c-bet, sure. That's okay. He's probably breaking this board a lot of the time. He calls you. Now on this turn, you're betting again. You have king nine high. So you're asking yourself, is this bet a value bet or a bluff bet? Clearly, this is a bluff bet. You have king nine high. You're not expecting to get value from anything. So it's a bluff bet. Now you got to say to yourself, what do I expect to fold? Now, if you're saying to yourself, I want to overbet here because I want to fold a 2, 4, or 3, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. But if you think about it, most of what you're folding out here is just a high card that called you. If he's got ace high, he never wants to fold on that flop because he's developing a wheel. Now, on that turn, when the turn brings the jack of clubs, he's likely to go, oh, okay, that's not a good card for me, unless he's got a club. If he's got the ace of clubs in his hand, obviously he's continuing. But on that flop, if he's got a 10-9 or he's got a king 10, if he's got an ace high, he's really likely to call once because he wants to see what happens on the turn. That board is not the easiest board for you to hit either. So he wants to see if you check back on that turn so he can take a shot on that river. He wants to see if he can hit something on that turn and get some money out of you. When he likely missed the majority of the time with his high cards, you don't need to bet that big to get him to fold. We just bet half pot here. That bet is a total bluff, needs to work 1/3 of the time. And he's got high cards and trash like that more than 1/3 of the time. So you're very likely to make some money right here. You want to make sure you're bluffing enough when you play no limit hold'em. Everybody can make a set and value bet it. That's what most people you play against are doing. They sit around and try to hit flops all day, then they try to get paid off. And because they don't do anything creative, nobody ever pays them off, so they can't beat the rake. They're just trading coolers with everybody. The skill part of poker is getting people to see things that aren't there. The skill part of poker is getting people to see ghosts and fold better hands. If you get people to consistently fold better hands and you take pots that don't belong to you, the game is yours. If you want to learn more about bluffing, I have a full-length training product in the information section of this video about how to triple barrel bluff. Check that out. It's free. You'll love it. And if you want more content just like this, go to pokerheadrush.com. That website, one more time, pokerheadrush.com.